Shore Conference Tournament. Congratulations to all of our spring athletes and good luck in the remainder of the season. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my report tonight. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, Trevor. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none. Trevor, if you'd like to leave and go do homework, we understand. Have a good evening. Thank you. Okay. All right. President's report. I'm going to start, unfortunately, on a sad note. Wall Township community, we lost two individuals over the past month. One was Tara Carpenter. She worked in our transportation department for many years, always had a smile on her face, just a very friendly person. She lived in Wall prior to moving to Brick for 20 years and used to come out and support many local charities here in Wall. She will be deeply missed by her husband, children, friends, and colleagues. Certainly a big loss for the district and so many of her friends. We also lost a local business owner that had a long connection to Wall High School, Larry French, who is a partner in French and Perillo Engineering. Back in 1959, Larry was part of a small group of people that were tasked with picking Wall High School's colors, along with the mascot, the Crimson Knights. Larry's children graduated from Wall. His family is also setting up a scholarship in his memory, Larry French Scholarship Fund. So I had the privilege and honor of knowing both these individuals, and my condolences to their families, and definitely a loss for the community. I also had the opportunity to participate in an Arbor Day tree planting at Old Mill School. The tree was donated by Monmouth County and County Commissioner Duraco, who's also a Wall Township resident and has children in Old Mill School. Mr. Laughlin, who's the principal, gave the classes that were outside and the adults in attendance quite a very good lesson in trees. I was very surprised by his knowledge and the great job they did. So I would like to thank Commissioner Duraco, Mr. Laughlin, and the county for the tree donation. We'll now move on to committee reports. If anybody has anything, policy, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. We only had one policy in our subcommittee meeting this month. Was on board committees, and basically we looked at revising some basic language on when we decide whether or not we're going to do subcommittees or committees of the whole. And we just decided that we're going to stick to the annual reorg meeting when that decision will be made. Of course, giving us flexibility if events warrant throughout the year, we could change it. And that's basically it. That was the only item on that. It was a very short and compact policy meeting, not like it has been the last couple of months. So that's really all there was this month, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Personnel, Mr. Sanfilippo.
Sure, thanks, Ralph. So we met on May 6, 2021. In attendance were Dr. Handerhan, Dr. Rando, myself, Christine Stites, and Adam Nasser. So we just discussed a few different things, Director of Human Resources and Director of Information and Technology Integration, that anticipated opening. All the meetings are on there. I'm not just going to, minutes are on there. I'll go down and read them all, but
Yep.
It was a productive meeting.
Great. Thank you. Curriculum and instruction, Mr. Krupa.
Thank you, Mr. President. The items on the agenda were proposed economics club, first technology challenge, robotics team, update on AP assessments, info age. We discussed tuition students and a continuing dialogue on the reopening plan. Of the highlights, I would say the principal, who I want to thank for coming in from the high school, spoke to us about the proposal of an economics club, which the committee approve of, and asked the board for its approval as well. And just in short, this is an exploratory. It's not a immediate given. It will have a life and see how that goes forward. The robotics team is something which, comes out of STEM or STEAM, whichever you want to use. And this is very exciting. It's a little bit different than a club, though, because the time commitment, the resources, all of that are very much more like an athletics team because of the nature of the equipment, the competitions, which are not only statewide but national. So we were interested in hearing what Ms. Sergio comes back with in terms of her research with schools in the state and our area that are already involved in something like this. We did get an update on the AP assessments. It was shared that a total of 368 AP tests are being taken, and we did get a graphic breakdown of how many tests not each student, but the frequency of the tests that are taken, 1, 2, 3, or 4 tests. This is something that is part of this school report cards or ranking matrix, as many of you already know. The Info Age is continuing to give us information about their summer programs, and we're looking forward to developing a stronger relationship with them in the future, especially for our middle school and high school level. At the elementary, there is an observatory, and they are assisting us with getting that to be more functional. In terms of the curriculum process that was not mentioned, Dr. Rondo, do you want to speak a little bit to that? And then that would basically conclude our report.
School districts are to have a 5-year curriculum cycle submitted and approved by the board, of which the school itself, teachers, and administrators follow. With the pandemic that occurred over the past year and a half, that cycle was interrupted, and teachers and staff members are unable to follow through with that. As a result, that 5-year plan was revised. We are at the last year of the plan. It ends in June 2022. And so therefore, we are looking at the cycle, and we had to select some of the curriculum writing projects and the program evaluations and remove it from this year and redo it next year and start from next year. In addition to that, we received confirmation from the state that all curriculum that was to be due for September 2021 has been also postponed till September 2022. So our changing our curriculum cycle for the last year aligns with the state recommendation that we can get the curriculum for that completed in September 2022. So that's what we do with our cycle, and at that time, we will revise and look at a new plan for the next 5 years.
Just want to say thank you and kudos to the administrative team and Dr. Rondo for adjusting that, because a lot of times when things go awry in the general sense, sometimes that's missed and the adjustments aren't made and you lose your sight on the target. So it's really important that this adjustment be made and that it be documented so that we continue to move that wheel forward, although it may have its bumps in the road and it may slow down because of circumstances. So we did get a matrix for that, and that was very helpful. Does anybody, Kristen, and Chris, you're the only others on the committee, do you have anything that I may have missed or you want to comment on?
I just wanted to say about the AP test scores, there was a significant increase. I think we're at 93 off the top of my head of students taking AP courses and passing with scores of 4 and 5, which Andy alluded to helps for scoring and grading the high school where we fall and state ranking and different things like that. So it'll be exciting to see, how that helps in different ways. So
And keeping track of that as well is going to be very helpful to driving our decisions in the future.
It's
Kristen?
also interesting to, find out, how many students are taking multiple AP exams, and it just had my brain kind of, swimming around thinking, kudos to those kids that are really, working hard, and the teachers who are teaching them too.
Kristen, did I miss anything that you want to speak to? So that's our report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Krupa. Finance and Facilities, Mr. Gartz.
Thank you. We met on May 4th, and as we do every month, we reviewed our cafe account and our wrap account to evaluate their performance year to date. And we also look quarterly this time at our legal bills and our interest that we're earning in the bank. And the committee was satisfactory with all those reports. Continue to look at those on a regular basis. As we started in January, we also discussed potential long-range facility projects and starting to iron those out as prioritization of some as they relate to our budgeting for this year, next year, as well as a potential referendum that is in the offing. A lot of different options that we're just talking about and getting started in that process. But for tonight, the key things coming out of the committee are a recommendation to approve projects for our communications and building security projects that were in this year's budget, as well as repairs and improvement to an athletic field behind the high school, lease purchases for buses and maintenance vehicles, and that's what we present to you this evening. So that's the committee report for Finance and Facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Gartz. I need to jump backwards a little bit. I skipped right over it. The Students of the Month for Wall High School. Grade 9, Dylan Balata. Grade 10, Dominic Giglio. Grade 11, Stephen Stansfield. And grade 12, Fiona Gill. And then the Knights of the Week for grade 10, Carolyn Combs. 11 is Micha Rubin. 9th grade, Linda Marie Osborne. And 11th grade is Ryan Prince. And then we also have the Students of Marking Period number 3. For art, we have Merle Kirchenbaum. Business, Mary Dorman. English, Molly Matra. Family Life, Sophia Petruno. Math, Hannah Kernis. Music, Hudson O'Reilly. NNDCC, Alex Lee. Physical Education Health, Gerald Winchester. Science, Alexander Wallenges. Social Studies, Charlie Fowler. Technology Education, Brianna Dudley. And World Language, Samuel Grabowski. So congratulations to all those students. At this time, we're up to number 13, which is public comment, and generally it's on agenda items only, but we have a lot of people here this evening and some familiar faces, so I'm sure you guys have other things maybe you'd like to do after this on such a beautiful night. So we will open up for public comment on any issue, just not the agenda items. So when you come up to the microphone, just please state your name for the record and talk.
Right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. How you doing, everybody? School board members, parents. My name is Brian Messenlehner. I'm a resident here in the town. I got 5 kids going
Brian,
through the...
I'm sorry. Could you put your mask up and?
Oh yeah.
And
that's what I'm here to talk about.
well,
actually.
I understand, and I believe that's why a lot of people are here. So I want to say this now, that we, and I'll speak for myself. I'm not happy with the mask.
I can't even tell who's speaking because you got a mask on.
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah, I understand that.
Yes,
And
oh, you, okay.
I'm right here. And certainly all of us understand. And it's very important for everybody to know that we as a school system, all school systems in the state of New Jersey, because I know the news that comes out, the guidance that comes out isn't sometimes clear by any stretch of the imagination. We have to follow what comes from the governor's office. We have no say. We can't say, please don't yell out. You will have a chance to talk, okay? We have to follow the guidance from the governor's office, okay? We are. You can come up next and speak. Every decision we make, and we've made since the beginning of this, and we were planning 3 weeks before any other school district, probably in the state of New Jersey, was to make sure our students and staff were safe. So certainly we all understand the frustration with masks. I'm frustrated, but that's the rule of the land, and that's what we have to follow while we're in the schools. So please, you will have a chance. So.
All right, so like I was saying, my name is Brian Messenlehner. I got 5 kids going through the school system here. Who's hungry? I'm kind of hungry, right? If we go to, right now, if we leave here and we go to Shoguns or Sumo, you could tell I like hibachi, right? You look like a Panera Bread kind of guy. So if we go in there, we're all wearing our masks, right? We walk in, they tell us, some people tell us to put on our masks, some people don't care anymore, right? Because the jig is kind of up. Anyway, we walk in with our masks, we sit down at our seats, we take our masks off. Why? Because science, right? Because COVID can't get us when we're sitting down eating. And then when we get out, when we get up and we leave, most people probably don't put on their mask because they're done with their food, they already paid and they're leaving. So my question is, if we can go to any place in town right now and do this, why are we making our kids sit down all day long with their masks on? And I understand that you're listening from the top up, but what is Governor Murphy? Does his kids go to these schools? He doesn't care about our kids. It's obviously become politicized. So why are we still playing along with the game? Why aren't we telling our kids, why aren't we leaving it up to the parents to make the decision, hey, you want to wear a mask to school? No? Okay, take off the mask. Why isn't this happening yet?
Because unfortunately, we have to follow the guidelines that come from the state.
Why do you have to do that, though? You're supposed to be our leaders. Why are you being followers?
Because that's the law.
Is it?
Yep. Mr. McKeever, can you speak to how school systems operate and what position we're in, regardless of what our personal views are?
What I'll just say is that, and I appreciate the frustration that a lot of the parents feel, but when we're operating this school, we are required, in my view, to follow the guidance that we receive from the governor's office, from the Commissioner of Education, from the Department of Health. Dealing with a school in a building like this, in any municipality in the state of New Jersey, actually in any state in the country, the biggest grouping of human beings is in a school. It's why it's difficult, and I believe that last year has been difficult, just to regulate how to educate children and keep them housed under one roof. What do I agree? Is my opinion relevant? It isn't. Unfortunately, neither is the opinions of the Board of Education. At this point, they have a policy. The public has come forward. You, sir, have come forward and indicated that you're displeased with the policy. You want it changed. I'm sensitive to that. I think the board members are sensitive to that. And I think that there is something that can be said for that frustration, because certainly the news today, just today, this morning, I was reading about Murphy taking the masks off on outdoor activities, but then there's a long article about his requirement that they maintain for indoor activities, which I agree with you, sir. When you go to a restaurant, you're allowed to take your mask off. I'm sensitive. I understand the frustration. Tonight for this meeting, the policy of this Board of Education in the school system is that when you're here, we have to keep our masks on. Could that change? I think it could. Will it change? I think it will. But it's not changed for this evening, and I understand your frustration, but at this point, I think a lot of people have that same frustration. I think we should let, if others need to speak.
Sure, I just have one more question. So this is the law, supposedly, and this is what you don't have any choice in this matter. What are the consequences if we just say, you know what, we're going to do what we want? Does it come down to money?
Well,
does it come down to money, funding and stuff from the state?
Not
because
necessarily,
if that's so,
sir, but
why aren't we putting our kids before money?
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily about money, but it's also, right now, there is a health crisis still in effect. The executive order says we're still in a health crisis, regardless of how we feel, how beautiful it is.
The guy that follows the science, right? That guy?
No, sir, I'm not going to debate it.
It's become
you're
a
displeased with the policy.
thing.
I understand your point. I think the board does.
Okay, so as long as we're all in agreement that we shouldn't be making our kids breathe in their waist any longer because the jig is up, I think that we should, maybe you guys can get together and go against your leaders and say, you know what, we're not playing this game anymore. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, how are you? Megan DeVito, Wall Township. I want to thank you. I can't see who just spoke. I I heard that you said you're sensitive to this matter, so I really want to discuss on this. I have two kids, 8th grader Aiden DeVito in Wall Intermediate, Mia DeVito, 7th grader. Aiden is a Junior Honor Society student, high academic, high honor. My son has an IEP considered other disabilities for anxiety and OCD. In the road back plan, it states, now this is from NewJersey.gov, it states, face masks are required unless it inhibits the children's health. My question of one of a couple questions is, why are not accommodations made for children with IEPs, right? Because remote learning is not gonna be a thing next year, right? Remote learning for a high academic student is not emotionally sound to be isolated. So my question is why are accommodations not made for IEPs? The other thing is, when I call the school psychologist and she tells me everyone has an opinion about the mask, this is not opinion, because guess what? If my son came to anybody or the school psychologist said, I'm confused with my gender, you bet your butt they would make accommodations for that child. But he has a disability considered other, and accommodations are not granted. Why is that? Why is it that the NewJersey.gov road back plan states that if social distancing can take place, 6 feet apart, masks can be removed at the desks? Why aren't we following that? Why do I have to write to Mbon and Miss Brad, the choir teacher, and tell them that masks can be taken off when kids are singing? Why, as a parent, do I have to educate educators? I want to know answers to this. So what kind of accommodations are you going to make for children with IEPs? Anybody? Anybody?
Do you have anything else you want to add before we?
I would like some answers. I would seriously, like, we've been patient. We did the roller coaster. We pulled him in. We pulled him out. I mean, we've been nothing but accommodating, but as the last conversation I had with Nadine Wade and tells me she's a school psychologist, now I am totally doubting the staff that you have as a school psychologist to tell me she is getting paid $93,000 a year for the well-being, the emotional well-being of our children, to tell me that masks are opinion-based. Answer this, please. I just would love an answer on those things. Why are we not following the road back plan that Governor Murphy put in place?
Do you have it?
Anybody? I don't know. Can anyone answer this? Why are we not following it?
Yeah. Please don't yell out. So you're talking about a child of yours that has something, so it's not appropriate to talk about this in public. So.
Okay, but no accommodations can be made. But then, if you're a student, right, you're a regular student, it states on the road back, NewJersey.gov website, that if social distancing can take place, masks can be removed. So tell me, when my son needs his violin at Wall Intermediate, guess who the first person I meet is? The security guard. And guess what? He has no mask on. So I have to send my kid and sit there for 4 hours with a mask on while the first person I greet doesn't have a mask on. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocritical. Why aren't you following the road back? That's what I want to know. Can anyone answer? Why aren't you following the NewJersey.gov road back for the school plans?
The board's reopening plan, I'm assuming, was sent to the county office for approval. When it is, the county office is aware of our operations as we move forward. Again, as I said to the prior gentleman, we're sensitive to the situation with respect to your child's concerns or your issues regarding an IEP or services being provided. The board can't respond to that in this form.
Okay, all right, fine. So I have 2 children. I have a child with no IEP.
But even if it's a gen ed or,
But gen ed,
I'm just not going to, we're not going to respond to specific.
Mr. Ralph said that they're following what the governor's saying, but clearly
I don't know if Mr. Adonisio said that. What I do think is, what he did say is, we're not going to respond specifically to your, discussing your student is inappropriate in this venue.
No, that's what he said to the gentleman that just stood up. He said, you said, Ralph, that you are following what the governor put in place. If the governor put in place a road back policy where masks can be lifted at desks, then why are you educator, or why is the education system not honoring that? That's my question. I want answers, because now I'm going to be forced to have to put my kids in Christian private school while I'm a taxpayer. I want answers. No one can answer.
No, right this second, honestly, I can't answer that question for
Well,
you.
then you
because
should be able to answer, because this was put in place weeks ago,
there's been
months ago.
honestly, there's been a lot of things put in place and a lot of things changed. Last summer when we were trying to open schools, every other day something was changed on us where we had to go back.
But why is it the parent's job to come to you and question why do our kids have to be masked? If you're telling the gentleman before me that masks, you're following what the governor is saying, you're not. You're clearly not. When a child is seated at their desk and can have 6 feet apart, their mask can be removed. They could have masks removed in gym class. Kids are still wearing masks. They could have masks removed in choir class. They're still being masked. So you're not answering my question. So I guess there's no answer to why you're not following what the governor's saying then.
Because right now, our directive that we've received is that everybody in school has to wear masks.
Okay,
And
so that's the school's that's the district's policy, but you're not following the state policy then? Is that what?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Are you saying that the governor's policy says you can take your mask off, or you must take your mask off when you're playing an instrument?
You can take your mask off.
You can?
Yes.
So if we choose to keep the mask, that's our choice, right?
But it's
So we're not
against
violating the state law.
But
Well, that's not what she's asking, so I'm going to ask her a question. She's saying we violated the state policy. If you're saying is true, we're not violating the state policy if we
you're
choose
not
to.
implementing the state policy.
But it says you can. It doesn't say you have to.
Wait. So you're telling me my kids could go to Wall Intermediate tomorrow and take their masks off at their
No, I didn't say that at all.
Then then you're not following the state policy. You can throw your hands, Mr. Russell, but the thing is,
I
no one has
don't have an
answers.
answer to your specific question. I'm sorry. I agree with you personally.
No one's
I don't.
answering my question.
But this
Why
is public comment. This is not public question and answer. So I don't know how to. Public comment. You state your comments. We listen to them, and that's how it goes. It's not question and answer time. Mr. McKeever, could you clarify that?
Well, I mean,
We're not going to answer your question, ma'am.
because you can't.
No, I did. I don't
Thank
think
you.
you liked the answer. Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
are we doing 5 minutes?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are we doing 5 minutes for public
Yes.
comment?
Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Piper Waitzel. I have 2 kids in Allenwood and 1 in the middle school. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Piper Waitzel is my name. I just have a short comment. I think we can all agree that the last 14 months have been challenging to say the least. I'm here to voice my displeasure in how this district has chosen to deal with these challenges. School is supposed to be a constant in our children's life, a safe haven, something they can count on when the world is scary. But for the past 14 months, I can honestly say that Wall Township has not been that place for any of my 3 children. We have asked the world of our children during this pandemic. We've asked them to wear masks. We've asked them to not talk to their friends, to not play at the playground, to sit behind plexiglass, to fill out a health questionnaire that asks personal information that is frankly no one's business, to not travel, and to most importantly not attend school for a full year. It's shocking. Watching my middle schooler try to learn algebra virtually after missing 8 chapters of pre-algebra last year has been a struggle to say the least. The decision to stay half-day for the remainder of this year is yet another bad decision. It was made by someone not being willing to sit down in a room and figure it out. Other districts are doing it. I don't want to hear that Wall is different than Manasquan. I don't want to hear that Wall is different than Ocean. I don't want to hear any of that anymore. There are people here before me whose children play sports, high-contact sports, close-contact sports. If it's safe enough to play sports, it's safe enough for them to be in a classroom full day. Instead, I have a school staff member telling both myself and my child that it's okay, the children aren't missing that much instruction, they don't need to go full day. Needless to say, these individuals do not have my children's best interest at heart. It shows by their actions. Not moving forward is always a bad idea. The definition of stagnation is lack of movement or development. This describes our district. By going to full-time school, even for 1 day this year, we show our children that we don't just give up when we're faced with difficult decisions, and that our education is more important than sports, or more than adults not being able to come up with a solution to a very difficult problem. There are 5 weeks of school left. You have had a year to plan this. We're giving up on our children by not putting them into school full day. Communication in this district is a huge issue. Besides posting meeting minutes, we really don't receive an update or email from our BOE. Our website is horribly out of date. Summer 2020 was the last time some pages have been updated. The lack of response we get from this BOE to our comments or our emails is discouraging. One of my principals sends out a weekly email every Friday with any information she might have. The other sends out nothing since March 2020. Only a required COVID notification, that's all we get. Your goals as a district leadership should have been to get these children back into full-time school as quickly as possible and to communicate how you are going to do this as often as possible. I understand from the way that we conduct the business that you're probably not going to comment back. It is what it is. I'm here tonight to tell you that we can all do better. We need to do better for our children. I understand some of these volunteer positions, and these are hard decisions that have to be made, but if you're not willing to do them, please step down so someone can stand up and make them. And if the administration you've chosen is not going to make these hard decisions, maybe we need to explore some other options for that. I have 3 children in this school district that will be in this for 9 more years, so I am looking forward to more positive days in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Patty Nowalski. Before I start, I just want to ask, I'm not going to fight with anybody, but this is my daughter. No one is 6 feet from me, near me, correct?
No.
Is there a reason that we cannot clearly speak without a mask on at this microphone? According to the law, I'm just asking.
District policy. Our district policy, and please don't.
I'm just asking because there's no one near me, and the rule statewide, countrywide, everywhere you go, I work in an airport, it's 6 feet or a mask. On the airplane, you have to have your mask on if you're eating or drinking, but no one is near me, and you can't hear
And
anybody.
in school, with masks on
Okay.
all the time, and
Okay.
our staff does it, our students do it. Certainly here at a meeting, we can sit here and do it.
All right, so thank you for being here. Thank you, parents. I want to say the schools have done a great job considering what they went through to get these kids in school. I have no problem. My elementary school, they're doing a great job. Erin Embaum's doing a great job. I have no problem, with the fact that my kids didn't go to school. I have friends in North Jersey. Their kids are just going to school. It's disgusting. It's sad. The problem I have is that I have 2 girls, 9 and 11. My daughter wants to speak. My biggest problem, obviously, is the masks. There should be no masks. We should have never masked these kids. It is abuse. They're being mask shamed. You are mask shamed. Put your mask up, put your mask up, put your mask up, put your mask up all day long. There's no love. There's no, excuse me, honey, you forgot your mask. It's mask shaming all day long. They're mask shamed. They are controlled. They are having mental. They're having physical. They're not feeling well. They have acne. They have canker sores. They cut off the bus with their mask on. They forget to take it off. It's disgusting. And as adults, as parents, we need to do better. We need to say no. We need to take this mask off. You were hired, Dr. Handerhan, to make Wall better. We've had bad years with superintendents. You can stand up and you can be the difference and say, Governor Murphy, our school is doing this. We're not waiting for you anymore. We're not waiting. You're the only state. Do you know how pathetic that is to see a map on News 12 today? The entire state is red except for New Jersey. Do you want to be that sheep that sits there and waits for him? You keep waiting for him, you're on a sinking ship. Don't wait for him. Be the voice, be the one school to be in the paper that says, this district loves their kids so much, they're unmasking them. Fine, you know what you could do? Walk down the hall. Walk down the hall with the mask, sit down in your desk at 6 feet, and take the mask off. Let the damn teacher take the mask off and teach. How do you learn a language? Ralph, if I start speaking French to you, are you going to understand?
Absolutely not.
She has been learning French from a teacher who first taught it virtually with the mask on, and now in the classroom is giving a math test with a mask on, teaching French. Are you kidding me? How about the kindergarten kids who are learning their words with a mask on? It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what this is? This is Teddy's 3rd grade water bottle for the day, and this is Faith's in 6th grade. Do you know why they're full? She won't take it off to drink because she's mask shamed all day, because she's not used to taking it off and doesn't want to be yelled at, and doesn't want to have to ask to go to the bathroom. God forbid she walked down the hall. And Teddy, in Old Mill Elementary School, has to walk up and sign in with the teacher who signs her into a bathroom. Can you guys go to Target and take your kid into a public bathroom? Like all the stalls are open? We went to Universal Studios. My kids went in the bathroom with all the stalls open. Do you know how, and yeah, you don't have to wear a mask in Universal now. Do you know what she does? She doesn't drink it. Mommy, I don't want to have to go to the bathroom. My daughter can't go to the bathroom because she has to sign into the bathroom. I talked to Eric Laughlin. I told him, I'm telling you, I want that bathroom mandate for all these elementary school kids ended. That has nothing to do with the mask mandate. That has nothing to do with social distancing. You're fearing kids into going to the bathroom because what? They might say hi to another kid in the damn bathroom. Do you know what they're doing in the bathroom? In the bathroom. That's the cleanest place. I thought this board, I have been to meetings, I have fought for people at meetings, fought for them. I thought you guys would be the school district to be in the paper to say, Wall Township is unmasking our kids. And you're not. You're saying, we got to follow Murphy. Stop following him. He's the only state in the United States not unmask. He looks like a coward. Don't follow the coward. Be better than him. Be stronger than him. Do you know what the rate from 5 to 17-year-olds is for COVID, for deaths? It's like 0.0000216. No one's dying from it. These kids are not spreaders. We have to do better. It is our job as adults. We are all putting fear in our children. We're all so scared. We've been scared for a year. You're putting fear in these kids. These are our future. Do you want to be an old person and you have the fearful kids running your country? No, you want the strong kids. You have to unmask them. Show these kids that we are not going to do bad by them. We're going to do good by them. We're going to unmask them. And you have to think about it. You have to have a town hall. And yes, you do have the right to change it, Ralph. Yes, you do, Dr. Hanrahan. You guys can change it.
Ms. Walski, you're
it.
5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, she's got 5 minutes.
Good evening, everyone, and my name is Faith Nowalski. I'm a 6th grader at Waller Intermediate School, and I came here to talk about how I absolutely am terrified to walk in the hallway and be mask shamed by a teacher. At Waller Intermediate School, they make you wear a mask while we are outside doing physical activities. I am suffocating, and half the students in my class are suffocating in the mask. And whenever I take my mask down to breathe or have a break, I will always get told by a teacher, not politely, but to tell me to put my mask up. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I come home every day having to wash my face because I have acne and it hurts so bad. I am absolutely over the mask, and I think we should change it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The reason I had Faith, you guys, the reason I asked Faith to speak was when I was telling her I was coming, she said, Mom, why doesn't anyone ask us, the kids, how we feel? And none of you have ever asked the kids how they felt. And I just want you to know, no school has ever made an announcement and said, let's take a mask break. No one's giving mask breaks, and it's May. So maybe that could change for the last month. It's going to be hot.
Thank you.
If I may, I'd like to introduce Mr. Hirsch Singh. He's running for governor, and he came here to speak to the board.
How's it going, everyone? I really appreciate the fact that you're giving me the opportunity to say a couple words. As it was just stated, my name is Hirsch Singh. I am the leading Republican candidate for governor. I'm only wearing this mask to be accommodating so that we can have this discourse, but the guidance that was given to all of you on the road back to recovery clearly does state that they're asking for all people, all children in the schools to wear the mask, but there are exceptions. And that first exception, the very first one, states health of a child. A mask does not need to be worn if the health of a child is of any concern. Do you agree with that, sir?
It's not question and answer, but yes, of course.
Okay, so I appreciate you answering. The reason I ask that is mental health is a part of health. As an exception, you, as the board, could determine as a body that you feel that this is causing mental health issues within the kids, it's causing psychological issues within the kids, and exempt all students in the school legally, as per the guidance given, as well as in the executive order. If you would consider doing so, you would be the first school district to do it, and I can guarantee you within a matter of 2 weeks, you would have 30, 40, 50 other school districts that are strong Republican areas like Wall that will follow suit. I've been in touch with multiple of them, and I ask you today to consider their guidance and their exceptions. Consider the masks on children as mentally challenging, psychologically harmful. It's up to you. If you do not take these actions and you wait for the governor to give you the right to do what is right, every one of you are going to be remembered, and you're all going to be removed from this board one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Clay. I'm a senior at Wall High School.
My name's Anna Williams, and I'm also a senior. Me and Grace are both class representatives for the class of 2021, and we just wanted to talk about how we're not allowed to do our senior walk through the elementary schools. We've been totally cheated out of our end of junior year and our entire senior year, and we can't really do anything. So we just thought, like, if we did this outside, that we'd be able to have something to remember.
We brought it up we have a meeting monthly with our principal and our class advisors, and we bring it up every month. But they have told us that the elementary school principals have said no to this. So I was talking to one of my neighbors, and she actually talked to the Central Elementary School principal about it. And the Central Elementary School principal had no idea about the subject, and she had never been asked about it. And then we're not really sure why the middle school is able to give fifth graders tours when we can't walk through. So we're just wondering why we can't do this and why it can't be accommodated outside. Like a Halloween parade that's outside would be the same thing.
There's also a petition that was started by Sorsa Gill, and it has over 800 signatures on it, and I think that the whole community would really like to see us get this done.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it.
That was it.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Luis Cabezas. I'm a senior at the Academy of Law and Public Safety, but for freshman and sophomore years, I went to Wall High School. I'm also here to talk about the senior walk. It was very disheartening when I was informed that the seniors at Wall High School couldn't go back to the elementary schools to do their walks. I understand that I wouldn't have been receiving an invite, but I still feel like my former classmates should have the opportunity to go back and almost dwell on where they came from. And even if the elementary school kids, even one or two of them, just look up and they know that one day that will be them going back to West Belmar or Old Mill. So I'd really like if you guys could figure something out to try to get the seniors a chance to go back, because we all know that through the pandemic, life has been crazy. We missed probably a full year of school. So now I think that we really got to give them a chance to have some sort of normalcy. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Is there? What?
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall Township. I agree with everybody here tonight. The board has got to get a backbone, and so does the superintendent. This is absolutely crazy. You need to write a letter to Murphy and get it in the mail. People are sick of it. You're the only school within 5 miles right now that isn't open full-time. Manasquan opened up full-time in September. Spring Lake Heights opened up full-time in September. Brick is now starting June 1st. Why can't Wall do it? Because this board changed the contract and shortened the hours for the WTEA without letting the parents know. You did it at 3:41 p.m. and shoved that agenda up there, and nobody knew about it. Yes, Joe. And you voted on it. Christine, you weren't here that day. Russell Gartz voted on it. Andy voted on it. So this nonsense, that's why you can't open the schools. It's because you changed the contract. Nobody else did that. That's why they're open. But you changed the contract. So don't make up all these excuses. And Christine, you should know that because you weren't here that day.
Mrs. Cross, my father died, but thank you. So
Okay.
you are correct. I
And
did
I'm
miss
very-
2 meetings because of
and
that,
I'm-
and those are the only 2 meetings that I have missed. But
Okay,
thank you.
I'm very sorry about your father. All I know is there's no excuse now why the school can't be open full-time. No excuse. Get that contract changed and open up the school. And the masks, get that letter and get it going. Well, I mean, this is just a disgrace. We can play football and we can spend $7,500 on the screens for that. And we can wrestle, but we can't teach our kids. I have heard from more parents that their kids are struggling because of it. But it doesn't seem like anybody up here cares. It really doesn't. So get up, resign, and somebody back here is going to take your seat. And you're more than welcome to do it tonight. We've had plenty of nights that I've been at where people get up and walk out that door. And if you get up and walk out that door, please don't come back, because you were doing nothing good while you've been up here. We need transparency. We need accountability. This meeting should have been on Zoom. You want to meet in public? Great. Put it on Zoom. Parents can't get here. And if a parent has to leave, don't be mocking them when they walk out the door like you did at the last meeting. And don't call in security. It's ridiculous. I've spent 10 years coming to meetings. You have one superintendent in jail. I think we've had 7 superintendents in the last 7 years. We're in an investigation right now. We demoed trailers during an open investigation by the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. We've had the Attorney General involved. And now I just totaled up the bills for 6 months. It was $93,000, Mr. McKeever. So let me tell you, that investigative report better be so detailed, because my notes and everybody else that's been helping out behind the scenes are unbelievable. So for all the money we've paid on this and all the money, I don't even know how you can approve any job tonight for Brian Smythe. Nobody should be approving anything. You have him down here for like 6 different jobs. You haven't given us that investigation. And there are so many things that he withheld from the prosecutor's office. Just withheld them. He didn't give them. Because why? Because they were regarding himself.
All right, Ms. Cross, you're speculating.
I'm not speculating anything. What am I speculating, Ralph?
Please continue.
Yeah. He left out that he was supposed to be the person that was supposed to visit the trailers before we bought them. He didn't give that to the prosecutor's office. That was very important. He also demoed the trailers before the reports came out. He had documents sitting on his desk that he gave to the prosecutor's office on December 20th that he gave to me the day after he demoed them. So no speculation. It's documented everywhere. So the prosecutor's office, the attorney general, everybody. Yeah, and I see.
Thank you, Ms. Cross. Your time is up.
No, my time isn't up.
Your
Other
time
people
is
got
up, Ms.
more
Cross.
time.
You're at 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
And what, didn't other people get over 5 minutes?
Your time is up. Thank
I'm
you.
different? No, I want to mention about cutting out the fine arts program.
No, Ms. Cross,
You
your time
took
is
out
up.
of the budget. No, it's affecting my son. You took out
Ms.
of the
Cross.
budget.
Point of
Ms.
order.
Ms. Cross,
You took out of the
Ms.
budget
Cross,
$12,000 for next year.
Point of order,
For the
Mr.
fine arts
President.
program.
Point of order.
Yes.
There's another public comment at the end of the meeting if there's an agenda item that needs to be
Well,
discussed.
are you going to vote after or now? Your agenda items you
had
vote
5
on,
minutes.
that's why I'm bringing it up.
You had 5 minutes.
you had 5 minutes, Ms. Cross. Your
Right.
time is up.
Don't vote on anything for Brian Smythe.
Kim Rubino, Wall Township. I think to finish up, Mrs. Cross's point was that she's very upset that the fine arts program has been cut significantly in our budget when sports and other curricular activities have been funded very well. So we have to consider all the kids, okay? So I wasn't going to really speak tonight, but I am disgusting. I've been in a hospital all day. I'm in this turquoise costume. All of you are dressed very nicely. You know why? Because I practice medicine. Medicine. None of you practice medicine, and I'm so tired.
Ms. Stites is a nurse practitioner.
She's a PA, actually, but close.
I'm sorry, PA. I apologize.
But she's an exception, and I know Mrs. Stites from prior, so thank you for telling me what I already know. But it has been the most frustrating year plus of my life. You know, school ended, our kids got off the bus March 13th last year with packets, home for 2 weeks. Guess who had to go to work on that Monday? Me and the rest of the healthcare schlubs of the world. And you know what? We did it and we conquered it. You are allowing COVID to take control of everything that you do in education. Everything. Stop trying to do the job that other people are there to do. In less than a year, we were taken over by COVID. I mean, Monmouth Medical was imploding, Jersey Shore. We didn't know what to do. It was scary. It was not anything we've ever done. But you know what? In a few months, we dealt with it, conquered it, and it's done. Monmouth Medical, Jersey Shore has been running normally since July of 2020. Normal. We wear masks. We'll probably wear masks for the rest of my life, but I'll do that if my kids can take off their masks and have a normal life, because they deserve it, because this is all, it's malarkey. It's not even, I'm so tired of people trying to assess, diagnose, make a plan of care. You don't have a medical license to do this, because there's no follow-up either. So you send my kid home for sniffles, or I have to take my kid out for an anxiety attack because his teacher's aide is bullying him, saying, oh, kid, Jack, did you talk to your mom about having COVID yet? Your sniffles sound like COVID. I can't do this anymore. It's been almost $10,000 of lost wages, over 300 canceled patients, my reputation, and I'm just one person. One person. Please stop practicing medicine. And this is not, when you say it's the law, no, it's not the law, it's a choice. Because you could conquer it and own it, and it could be your own decision, and that's it. There are plenty of medical people in this state to take care of a job that you're trying to do, because you're not doing it right at all.
Thank you.
Well, it's going to be hard to follow these two. So my name is Lauren Kuna. I'm a Wall Township resident. Can you hear me now? Is that good? Okay. All right. My name is Lauren Kuna. I'm a Wall Township resident. I'm here tonight as a frustrated parent. I'm here to offer a suggestion, a plan, because what I hear for months, whether it's on watching these Zoom meetings or looking at them at GoToMeeting or attending, though this is my first time here tonight, is a parent advisory committee. I'm suggesting that this board forms a parent advisory committee. This is not a funding committee. This is not a PDG. This is not something for fundraisers. This is a way for parents and teachers and principals and administrators, the superintendent and board members to talk to each other monthly, where there is a give and take, where you can talk back to us and we can talk back to you, where it's an actual exchange. Because what we heard before is that there isn't an exchange. What will likely happen is my comment might be written up in a note, and it will not be addressed. And that's the problem. Nothing seems to get addressed when parents bring comments and concerns here to the board. And I'm offering the suggestion of a parent advisory committee, because if such a committee existed, then we would know that full-time was actually an option for May 24th. I had no idea. Who knew? I didn't know. If I don't know the right people, I don't know what's going on. Also, what about this senior walk? Why was it canceled? I signed a permission slip for my 5th grader to go into the middle school, but you can't have seniors come to the elementary school. It's not consistent. It's inconsistent mandates and ideas, and it shows, and it's frustrating. But most importantly, I'm here to talk about full day. Do you have a plan for full day? Are you talking about it now? Or are you going to wait until August 20th? What is the plan? I want to know. Everybody wants to know. What are your concerns? What are the objections? We need to have a give and take. This parent advisory committee should meet monthly. It should have an agenda. It should have timely minutes. Looking at the agendas of 150 pages for this meeting is crazy. And if I couldn't attend here tonight, then I don't have any idea until today what you talked about in April. It's not right. You have to change the way you're talking to us. That's where our frustration is. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to say something? What?
Hello, Penelope Struble, Wall Township resident. I wasn't planning on speaking, and I thank you all for being here. I just wanted to point out something. It was, I'm going to say about 2-3 weeks ago, I got a phone call from Wall Intermediate. I had to go pick up my son because he was potentially exposed to a positive case. So number one, my thought was, are we showing documentation to prove that a potential positive? Because anybody can just say that, oh, we were exposed, we're positive for COVID. You have to prove that you are COVID-free after 14 days, right? Or is it 12, 14 days? I had to pick them up, and I had looked up the CDC guidelines that said 5 days they can go get a test. If they're negative, they only have to quarantine for 2 more days, and then they can go back to school. I was told Wall Township doesn't follow that. Wall Township isn't following the CDC. So I'm confused. Is like Wall Township above the CDC? Why is Wall Township have a different set of rules that they're following? It's like they just willy-nilly think of like what's in their best interest and not what's in the best interest of my son. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment.
Ralph, we need to respond to some of these questions. I think there's answers that we can
Well,
give
we are.
before
Hold on.
everybody walks out, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, the political candidate's leaving, so,
They just don't want to hear the answer.
no. But Dr. Handerhan, would you like
Yes,
to
thank you,
address-
Mr. Adnesio. Good evening, everyone. I will first start beginning to address the question/comment that I just heard regarding is Wall Township more strict or stringent than the Center for Disease Control guidance. I will say that throughout this calendar year, New Jersey schools are asked to follow the New Jersey Department of Health guidance. At times throughout the school year, New Jersey Department of Health guidance was more stringent than the CDC. Our New Jersey Department of Health guidance is linked to, and for example, the number of quarantines is linked to, are we in a red zone? Are we in a red area? Are we in an orange area? Are is our threat yellow. So it is a sliding scale and it's situational. And I will tell you that there is a great deal of frustration when New Jersey does not align with the Center of Disease Control. That is improving, I am pleased to say, but I will say that there has not been perfect alignment with the guidance. Secondly, with respect to full-day schooling, one of the speakers this evening asked if we are working on fall plans. I will tell you that we are indeed working on full plans. And I will also share with you that we are working on our summer plans excessively at this point so that we can build the best program for your students to mitigate any of the learning loss that has taken place. I would also like to address the issue with respect to students that are medically, it's contraindicated to wear a mask. If there is a medical issue where a child should not wear a mask in school. Yes, that is in the reopening guidance, in the reopening document that was provided by the New Jersey Department of Education. I will tell you that if a child has provided medical documentation, it is reviewed by our school physician and it is addressed at that time. We have students that are unable to wear masks because of a medical issue. So these are tended to. If there are specific questions, there is a process for that. So please reach out to your individual school. Additionally, another item that I would like to address is the discussion of the memorandum of agreement between the Wall Township Education Association and the Wall Township Board of Education. I will tell you this document has been on the website since it's approving. This document, if we are on a full day, it is a defunct document and the school hours, the school day reverts back to the standard contract. So the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement that was written specifically for the work while we're on an amended schedule. When we created the reopening document, we needed to make sure that when we open the school, remember these plans were written in late July, written in July and written in August. Students, we needed to develop procedures where we took students' temperatures, where we made sure that there was social distancing as the students entered the building. We had to have strict drop-off. Because of this, we needed to adjust the hours of the faculty's staff day. We needed to have teachers to report earlier in the school day to accomplish this. So there were some adjustments. In the Memorandum of Agreement, if the school reverts back to a full day, the MOA does not come place. If during this particular school year, the MOA was addressed for this particular school year. I would also like to discuss some of the issues that were brought up tonight, specifically some of the issues with respect to seniors, and I do hope that some of the students are still here. During the last 2 weeks, I have received multiple communications regarding the senior walk not taking place this year. As a newcomer to this district, I first had to learn what the senior walk was all about. When the event was described to me, I quickly understood why the district could not run this event this year. Despite improving health data, schools are still obligated to maintain proper social distancing and conduct contact tracing. I think it is worthy to mention that student activities at the intermediate school and at the high school have been deliberately positioned on the calendar to ensure that a graduate would not miss graduation because of a close contact quarantine resulting from a student activity. You might be wondering how this applies to the senior walk. Students being transported on a bus would be in close contact for at least 15 minutes. If there were a COVID-positive individual on the bus, those individuals that are within 6 feet would be required to quarantine and ultimately not be prepared to walk at their high school graduation. Prior to arriving in Wall Township, I was a high school principal for 13 years. Telling a parent that their child cannot walk with their high school graduating class is never an easy conversation. It would be unimaginable to me to do so as a result of a school-sponsored event. When we discussed the possibility of students providing their own transportation, it was not feasible. Schools are responsible for the safety of the students portal to portal. This means that school would be responsible for the safe passage of potentially the entire senior class without dedicated parking areas. This is just not a safe situation for our students. This week, I also announced that our school district would not be returning full-time this school year. As I mentioned in the letter, a tremendous amount of time was spent examining this issue. It was not an afterthought. I also mentioned that each school district is unique. Some community members asked for some examples about what I mean about being unique. Wall is a K-12 district. It is not a kindergarten through 8th grade district. School size and common spaces vary throughout all of our district schools. Additionally, our community is participating in in-person instruction at arguably very high rates. For example, almost 94% of the intermediate school enrolled students are attending in person, 94%. At the high school, that number is hovering around 80%. The elementary schools collectively are welcoming approximately 92% of their student body. Personally, I am thrilled that so many students have returned to in-person instruction. However, lunch with this many students continues to be a challenge in all of the schools. Currently, guidelines require 6 feet social distancing for lunch. We just do not have the space with the current schedules to meet this requirement across the district. Eating outside is certainly an option, but it's only an option when the weather is cooperative. We literally need to account for rainy days. In the upcoming fall, we will be able to design new building schedules in all of the buildings to account for social distancing if it is required. These are just a few of the specific challenges that district administrators have been mitigating and have been examining all year. I look forward to working with our administrators and our faculty in fine-tuning our summer programs and continue planning our full-time reopening in September. I would also like to express my gratitude for all of those that have been involved with providing Wall students with as many student activities as possible. Last Friday night, I had the pleasure of greeting junior prom attendees as they entered the Southgate Manor. It was a beautiful evening, and it was clear that the students were ready for a special night out. On all accounts, it was a very, very successful event, and I am so looking forward to attending more student events throughout the district. And I'm certain that our staff and the students feel the same way about attending our events. Mr. Adonisio.
Thank you, Dr. Handrahan. Did any board members have anything?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mrs. Stites.
Well, it's disappointing that people come in, they want an exchange of ideas, and then they leave before we can exchange them. I will not be resigning or walking off this dais today. I was someone that was asked by quite a few people to leave the PTOs after years of serving the kids in this district, and came to this dais, and to say that nothing's gotten accomplished is outrageous. And it is wrong. Mrs. Cross, be quiet. You've had your chance at the dais. Enough, Mrs.
Ms.
Cross.
Cross, if you're not going to keep
Enough.
quiet, we're going to ask you to leave.
I am going to implore everyone for the last time. What kind of a community do you want for the kids? You've asked people to step up. Many of you couldn't even listen to the responses as all the side conversations went on. If you think for 1 minute anyone up here doesn't care about your kids, you've lost your minds. I have kids in this district. I have sweated and bled into the schools. I'm not asking for thanks, but I am saying that we have got to get on the same side of a fence. You have got to understand what's happening. Am I heartbroken for the senior walk, for example? Absolutely. I didn't have seniors. I cried when I watched it. It was phenomenal. I'm the person who put on the bulldog costume and danced all over Old Mill School. Nobody wants to have those sentimental events more than I do. You have got, though, to be understanding of the fact that there are parameters that we have to face. And when our administrators, who we trust to take care of our kids, tell us it's not possible, I support that. I would also like to make the point that the Board of Education members do not administrate the schools. But I will be the first one to tell you, in not passing the buck, that if the administrator of the school tells my kid they're going to tape spaghetti on his feet to get the kid in school, I'm going to try to at least hear what their side is. And I'm going to support them the best way that I can, because I think to suggest that our administrators or our educators don't care about our kids, or they're too lazy, or they're disgusting, as I'm seeing all over social media, is out of control. And it's awful. And it is getting us as a community nowhere. Nowhere. I'd be thrilled to sit down and talk to people. But there are things that I have to do as a Board of Ed member, and there are things I have to follow and parameters that I have to follow. I can't have these conversations on social media, nor will I, because the depths that they have sunk to are disgusting to me. And it is disturbing to me what is happening in this community. I could go on all day, but I sit here every week and keep my mouth shut and try to sit here very properly while I listen to people say, you're not going to hear the truth. Well, that's my truth. And I'm going to keep busting my butt for the kids in this community and our educators and our staff, who I watch bending over backwards. And I'm going to support them the best way I can. And we may have differences of opinion, but I'm still trying to hear you. I'd ask everyone to try to understand there is always more than one side to this. And while the seniors may not, unfortunately, have senior walk, they are, in fact, having senior assassin, a senior picnic, academy, graduations, senior award nights. There will be the musical chorus line. There will be concerts. There will be choruses. And I'll be at quite a few of those. And I'll be darn happy to be there. But to suggest that they're getting nothing is absolutely incorrect. And to suggest that people are sitting here somehow trying to sandbag the kids is just absurd. It's absurd. And as far as what my profession is, I don't try to diagnose or do anything medical when I'm sitting here on this board. FYI. And that's what I have to say. And I'm going to just implore you again to understand that I'm here because I do care. And I did step up. And quite a few people here stepped up when someone here screamed for the last set of resignations. If you do want this seat, it can be up for election. It's up for election. It can be.
Ms. Cross,
it can
this
be.
is your last warning. Please
it can
do not
be
shut
up
out.
for election. And I don't say that to be fresh. If you've got the time to devote, by all means, step up, because we could use the help. And if you don't like the job that I'm doing, or you doubt my commitment to the kids, then by all means, have at it. And that's what I have to say tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Stites. Any other board members?
Mr. President, I want
Yes.
to say something. And Ms. Stites brings up some great points. And I want everybody to understand what it looks like from the other side of the table too, because these are not easy decisions to make. We don't enjoy making them. They go against our personal beliefs in a lot of cases, but at the end of the day, we serve in a role that is bigger than ourselves, bigger than our families. We have to serve the whole community. So to answer a couple of questions, the guidance in the road back plan does require masks, with exceptions. The gentleman here that was running for governor did bring up one of them, and I'm going to circle back to that in a second. The CDC guidance for schools has not changed, and I'm going to quote from their website: the CDC recommends schools continue to use the current COVID-19 prevention strategies for the 2020-2021 school year. So in other words, up until the end of this academic year. I do believe that we're going to be back to normal, and I'm going to do everything in my power, at least as a board member and as a school employee, because I do this 9 to 5 as well, to get the kids back in full days without masks. I mean, nobody wants their kids to have masks. But for the rest of this school year, the current guidance is to keep the current mitigation strategies in place. Now, let me just mention, one of the last speakers brought up inconsistency, and inconsistency has been something that we've had to struggle through this entire time, whether it's guidance from up top or feedback from down below. So I want to point out that we had a gentleman get up and tell us that we should deem masks a health risk for all students. We have another speaker get up and say we're not qualified to make any health determinations for any of the students. Now, it's difficult as it is to try to navigate the plethora of information that's out there and not be a health expert. But at the end of the day, we have to rely on those experts. Like we rely on our attorney that's sitting here, the education professionals in the room, to help guide us in the direction that they feel as professionals is necessary. So to wrap this all up, I don't think this is going to go beyond the end of this academic year. And I don't think there's anybody up here that is really going to put up with it beyond that. But we see a finish line. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And when September comes, even the summer, I mean, we have summer programs to talk about. That may change how things may change over the summer as well. I don't know that for a fact. We may have certain requirements that are required from us. We don't know that because right now the guidance we have is up until the academic year. So I echo what Ms. Stites says. It's tough to read things and not be able to respond, but I appreciate at least being able to voice the little shred of hopefully a vision of what we have to deal with on our side of the table as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else? Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yep. Listen, I have kids in the school district too, and they wear masks. And frankly, I think it stinks. I mean, we're operating, within a ball field, which is set up, by our governor. I mean, I don't disagree with most of the things that are said here tonight. I'm sure we all wish we had a magic wand to be able to fix things. The one thing that I would say is I get, a lot of conversations with people, and they say, oh, well, we don't know what's going on, this and that. This meeting is broadcast on YouTube. It's live right now. Every meeting of this Board of Education has been broadcast over the last year and a half or so, 2 years almost. What this board does quite frequently at the end, so if you don't want to watch all of the voting and the yays and the nays and all those types of things, and if you want to know who the people are on this Board of Education, I would tell you to watch the last 10 minutes or so when we talk in this similar circumstance. So you'll know who we are. You know our thoughts, because we've said the same thing pretty much since the beginning of this, which is we don't like the masks. We don't like, the social distancing. We don't like all of these different things, but unfortunately, we really don't have an available way to be the first person to jump off the bridge and then, fall at the bottom of the cliff, right? I mean, people are saying, well, they don't want Murphy to run our schools. Well, I mean, we have an obligation, to run the school. What if the state came in and Murphy was going to, take over the school districts and say, Wall Township is just blatantly disregarding CDC and health violations and different things like that? I mean, would that be the consequence that folks would rather see? I don't think so. Look, I understand the patience is worn thin on all of these different types of things. Trust me, it's for me too. We all come here to every meeting. We do our due diligence. We do the best things that we can. The administrators, the principals, the teachers, the students, we're all in on this. We are trying to do the best that we possibly can. We've had students in person since the beginning of the year, which I think is an accomplishment for this district. I know Patty was saying that, she's got friends up north that haven't gone to school all year. Listen, and I'm not the type of person to say, well, they're not going to school all year, so what we're doing is fine because of, whatever it is. No, but there's been a lot of work that's gone into this school year. And I think it's been, as best we can, a very successful school year. And yes, of course, there are things that are, that stink about it. And I understand that, and I believe that, but I challenge, I don't want to challenge you guys, but I want to say, go back and look at the things that we've said at the end of, the tail end of the Board of Education meetings. There was a whole bunch of people. I wanted to ask how many people have watched the meetings on YouTube, right? Maybe some of them have, maybe a couple. Did I, I went, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but, if you've been following along, did you watch all the end, or did you just kind of watch the first couple minutes, like I read a book, right? First two, skip a few, 99 to 100, right? Just pay attention to the 99 to 100 at the end, because that's how you're going to know who these people are on this board. And I mean, we've been showing up the best way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanfilippo.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
And I don't want to single out our nurse in the room, but thank you for what you've done during this. My wife, thank you. Thank you. My wife is a nurse. She's an RN. When she's not delivering babies at Monmouth Medical, she is vaccinating people like crazy. She's vaccinated hundreds of people. There's a lot of people that are out there that don't get enough recognition trying to, finally get this push closer to the end. So to all of them, thank you. We get it. We're getting there. I promise.
Thank you. Did anybody else have anything? Mr. Krupa?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just want to update that we are in the process, and the board is involved in the evaluation of our superintendent. That form was uploaded, so everyone should be able to get to that. If you have any difficulty with it, just let me know, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And I do want to thank the board members that have spoken tonight with regards to the circumstances that we're all working under, and even the public comment, looking deeper into what the intent is as opposed to how it's messaged is always helpful. But it is important, very important, that if we're going to model for our children things that are important in terms of respect, mental health, and all of that, that we go the full course with that. And I don't need to say more about what that means. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? I just want to say that certainly appreciate everybody that came out tonight, and we certainly understand your frustration because we're all frustrated. I've been frustrated from the point where the 2 weeks turned into a year and a half. 2 weeks, we'll flatten the curve, and then everything will be back to normal. Get vaccinated, everything will be back to normal. 100% frustrated. My wife's a teacher. She hates wearing a mask. I mean, so it's just not the students. The teachers hate the mask. We're getting there. Certainly, everybody needs to understand every decision that this board makes. I mean, and everybody here, these decisions sometimes weigh on you. I mean, heavily. I mean, the decision whether to open school or not open school, or that. A lot of thought and discussion went into that. That just wasn't a decision where you flipped the coin and said, yeah, this is what we're going to do. The contract was already spoken to, that if we decided to go full time back to regular hours, that amended contract would go out the window without us having to do anything. So everything we do is for the benefit of the students. Is it what everybody wants right now? Absolutely not. I can also tell you that there are people in the community in our school community, that still want masks, are very happy with not going full day. They'd be happy if we continued virtual school next year, which we are not doing at all, and that was something that we planned before we even did our budget. There was going to be no virtual school. Moving forward, as a district, we certainly, every time something comes out, we evaluate that information and the orders and how it affects us and take steps to improve the situation. Unfortunately, we're just not in a position, us as a Board of Ed, to throw out what he says because, who knows? All you have to do is look at the restaurants that decided, you know what, I'm not going to stay at 25% or 50%. They came in, they fined them, they shut them down, they suspended liquor licenses, all kinds of things. What can a governor do to a school district? Well, the state can take us over, and that's certainly something that we wouldn't want by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you all for coming out tonight and expressing your concerns. Going forward, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're all working towards that. So at this time, we just did the public comment for everything. We still have our action items. So I'm going to open public comment on the agenda action items at this point. If anybody has a comment on any of the action items tonight, please come up to the microphone.
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall. Yeah, I just want to go over before you vote. I know you have it on the agenda tonight. Brian Smythe be appointed as board secretary. He be appointed as the custodian of records. He be appointed as the claims auditor, the qualified purchasing agent, the approval of the officer for bidding, purchase, and sale of property. He's also doing all the compensation plans. Until we actually have the investigation presented by the attorneys, nothing should be approved for Mr. Smythe. So I want that on the record, and maybe you should vote for all these items separately, because this is absurd to think that you're voting for these. I don't see Mr. Smythe's salary in the payroll, so if you could tell me if you snuck it in on your last update that's online before you vote tonight. I didn't see it in there. Joe, you're shaking your head no, it's not in there. It hasn't been decided. Okay, so let's just be sure that's not there.
And to clarify, nothing is ever snuck in.
Sure it is. Snuck in all the time. When you post it just, a couple minutes before a meeting or a couple hours before a meeting, nobody has time to look at it. It should be up 48 hours in advance. If it's not, it waits to your next meeting. Job descriptions. I don't see jobs descriptions for everybody. I'm not sure how you pick these. What I hate to see is we've gone through so many superintendents, and what they do is they bring in their friends. And then we have their friends, then the superintendent leaves, then we got the new people that they brought in. This has to stop. So I don't know why We have these new job descriptions. You can't even figure them out of what the qualifications are. So I don't know if you're looking for somebody in particular and you had to word it this way. But some of these job descriptions don't make sense. Well, I think something about the HR person had to be a principal before. I mean, is that what that says? That you have to be a principal before to be an HR person? To me, those two things have nothing to do with each other. So if you could go over that. And technology. And I mean, that one woman brought up about the parent advisory. I mean, you do have a parent advisory. The problem is you cherry pick your people, and then nobody else knows about it. It's been going on for a decade, and it still goes on today. And then, people post things. If you weren't afraid what people posted, you'd allow people to comment on your own Facebook page. It's ridiculous. All the other school districts allow parents to comment. Why don't you? What are you afraid of? And then, Mr. Goretz, I've said this before, you have these meetings, you say you're comfortable, you're presented facts and figures, and then you don't attach anything. You have 2 paragraphs, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to the reader. So I don't understand why you don't attach documents of what you're reviewing. That's what we need to see, because so many bad things have happened in this school district for exactly what you're doing. It's exactly it. Food service is bankrupt. Well, guess what? We didn't know. You know why? Because nothing was ever attached, just like you're doing right now. And I saw Dawn on the video dropping packets off for everybody. Did everybody just get their packet when they sat down tonight? That's what a lot of the problems that happened in the past. So that's why I keep bringing it up. I've seen it over and over again. So you need to do better, or don't be on the board. A referendum will never pass in this town. Not a chance. 50 million, 40 million, you wouldn't get 1 million. Nobody would vote yes, because you're so non-transparent, non-accountable, and you don't care what the public thinks. You spent more money, I think, on not paying for something for my son than it actually cost to pay for him. It was like, it's ridiculous. So you do whatever you can to hurt certain students. It's just terrible. Monmouth County Arts funding was not included in the budget for the next school year.
Thank you, Ms. Cross. Your time is up.
$8,000 you took out of $80 million?
Ms. Cross, your time is up. Thank you.
You're a terrible board president.
Every Wall Township student that goes to Wall High School that wanted to attend that program went to that program. So if a student did not attend that program, that must mean they weren't a student in Wall High School. Anybody else for agenda item comments? Seeing none, we will close public comment on agenda items. All right, could I have a motion on number 14, approval of the secretary minutes for the executive session of April 13th, the special meeting of April 13th, executive session of April 20th, business meeting of April 20th, executive session of April 27th, the special meeting of April 27th, and the special meeting of April 28th, all of 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gartz. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Krupa. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Gartz.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett.
Yes.
Mr. Krupa.
Yeah.
Mr. Nasser.
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo.
Yes.
Ms. Stites.
Yes, with the exception of 5 and 6, as I was not present.
Please do not yell
and
out.
Mr. Adnesia.
Yes. Ms. Cross, if you yell one more time, we're going to ask you to leave.
I said yes with the exception of 5 and 6 as I was not present.
Could I have a motion on number 16, Board of Education report?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gartz. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Krupa. Any question, discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett.
Sorry, I'm just checking my notes. Yes.
Mr. Krupa.
Yes.
Mr. Nasser.
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo.
Yes.
Ms. Stites.
Yes.
Mr. Guards.
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio.
Yes. Number 17, Dr. Hanrahan.
I would like to request a motion to approve by consent agenda items A through AA.
Could we have a motion on that?
I move it.
Motion by Mr. Krupa. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Nazar. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Krupa.
Just to be, well, let me go in order here. And with D, I don't understand D. I'm sorry. It says recommend approval, school human resource services.
Yes, yes, Mr. Krupa, that is the HR consultant the contract is for an hourly basis that will help us as we redesign the human resources department. As you will notice, that is part and parcel with some of the other board actions this evening with respect to the HR department.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to add that the redirection of the human resource department does require additional certifications because some of the tasks and the title of director itself requires the certification of a principal.
Right, which is not interpreted as must have been a principal, as I have a principal.
It says
certification
administrator.
myself.
Or a CSA certificate, both. Both are acceptable for the position.
Okay, that was the other question that I had, so, okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall. Oh, I'm sorry. Who? Oh, Mr. Gartz. I'm
Letter
sorry.
I, while it's wonderful to get this money, the ESSER money, I would like to see a future breakdown of impact on the mental health money, $45,000. Salaries and consultants, professional technical workshops eating up about 38,000 of the 45. I just don't know what that means to the kids. So at some point, I'd like clarification on how that's going to matter.
No, absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. And Dr. Rando has been working with the mental health staff and the building leaders and district leaders that work with special education, mental health, and guidance.
Thank
So
you.
absolutely.
Did anybody else? All right, seeing none. Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Yes, but I have to abstain to letter I for the extended school year summer because that portion pertains to a family member. To tenured professional staff, that portion pertains to a family member. And then AA, because that pertains to me.
Duly noted. Thank you. Mr. Krupa.
Yes.
Mr. Nasser.
Yes, with a thank you to all the donations that are on there. There's quite a few.
Mr. Sanfilippo.
Yes.
Ms. Stites.
Yes.
Mr. Guards.
Yes.
Mr. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio.
Yes, except letter A, I am going to abstain to the portion that pertains to my family member. And before we move along, I accidentally skipped over number 15, policy. So we have recommended approval for policy after the first reading for policy 0155, board committees. I will open up public hearing on that now.
I didn't get a chance to read that one. Could you tell me what it is?
No.
I didn't print it off.
No, we
It's
talked.
on
no.
committees, so what is it on committees?
Do you
I
have a
didn't
comment
print
on
it
this?
off. Did you print off copies for people? I only printed off about 20 pages, and that wasn't one of them.
Do you have a question or no?
I do. Could you explain what you're voting on under, what you're changing under the committees? That's all. You're the board president, so I'd like you to explain it. Thanks.
Is there anybody else for this policy? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry. Did we motion on that?
Mr. Adams, I'll just
Yes,
quickly
Mr. Hall.
respond to Ms. Cross that it was basically, we just changed some language of when we decide to go to committee of the whole or when do we go to subcommittees. When that decision is made, and we just memorialized it, that decision is made at the reorg meeting every January. Either we're going to act as finance committee, policy committee, or will we do it as a committee of the whole? That decision will be made in January to reorg, but it does give us the ability to, if events warrant, to change it. That's basically the policy. We just changed to when we make that decision. That was it.
Your time is up, Ms. Cross.
Could you just make sure you have attachments, like I just mentioned that Mr. Gorst doesn't have any attachments for F&F. We have no idea
Right.
what
Ms.
he's
Cross, your
talking
time is
about
up.
in his minutes. I think that should be part of your policy, that you actually have
Ms.
attachments.
Cross, the public portion
that
is
the public
closed on this,
can
so
see.
please sit
Thank you.
down. Oh, could we have a motion on policy
So moved.
155? Motion by Mr. Gartz. Could we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Krupa. Any discussion?
I would just like to add that with regards to that particular policy which was mentioned, we did due diligence with looking at several other districts. And, you know, it was interesting to do that because often it's mentioned what this district is doing, what that district is doing, and we're trying to craft what would be the best iteration for our district with the guidance of Strauss Esme, but also what works for the good of the order. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Okay. B, recommend approval for public hearing.
Sir, take a roll call. Mr.
Oh, I'm
Krupa?
sorry.
Did you call me? Yes.
Krupa. Thank
Yes.
you. Mr. Nasser?
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes.
Ms. Stites?
Yes.
Mr. Gartz?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett?
Yes.
Mr. Anesia?
Yes, okay. B, recommend approval after public hearing on the second reading of the following policies. 2415, 2415.02, 2415.05, 2415.20, regulation 2415.20, 4125, 6360, 8330, and 9713. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make
the motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hall, second by Mr. Krupa. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Nasser?
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes.
Ms. Stites?
Yes.
Mr. Gartz?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett?
Yes.
Mr. Krupa? And Mr. Anesia?
Yes. Mr. Smythe, number 18, Business Office.
Yes, if I could have a motion to approve items 18A through K by consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Gartz. Can we second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Krupa. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes.
Ms. Stites?
Yes.
Mr. Gartz?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett?
Yes.
Mr. Krupa?
Yeah.
Mr. Nasser?
Yes.
And Mr. Anesia?
Yes. Okay. We did our public comment. Go around. Mr. Gartz, do you have any parting words? No? Ms. Hodnett? All right. Mr. Krupa?
No.
No. Mr. Hall? No. Ms. Stites? No. Mr. Nasser?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sanfilippo?
I just want to wish everybody a good evening.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Handerhan? You're good? Mr. Smythe? I'm sorry. Did you have anything?
Nope.
No?
Thank you.
Okay. Could we have a motion to adjourn, please?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Krupa, second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Stites, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Everyone have a good night.